Hello, Rotters, and welcome to this bonus episode of Brain Rot. This weekend sees Manchester turn into the horror heart of the country as independent genre film festival Grimmfest commences. Today, we will be giving spoiler-free thoughts on the movies that were screened in the first 2 days of the festival, and then over the next couple of days, we will be continuing our coverage over on our Patreon page. Here with me, to delve into these offerings, that's horror offerings, is my partner in slime, Matt Draper. Welcome back.
Hey Stevie, what's new?
What did you think of offerings?
I thought it was a reference to Hasselhoff.
Right, then no.
And then I thought, was he in any of these films we're about to discuss? Did I miss a cameo?
Yeah, no, I'll probably have to rethink that. I thought it was really obvious, but obviously not.
I think
I mean, that's all I did was put an H
there's
on.
a theme here. I think it's actually saying more about me than it is you, Stevie. I'm just too slow.
You don't have to do that. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. Yeah. 'Tis the season, though. Happy Halloween month.
Oh, spooky season's arrived, finally. That burnt fire smell is lingering in the evenings. I love it.
Yes. The crunch of the leaves under the feet. What do you do? Do you go full out? Do you do Halloween? I don't think we've ever spoken about Halloween properly.
Have we not? No.
Don't think so.
I go full out? As in on the day or the month?
Well, the month and then specifically the day.
Generally speaking, I love it, obviously. I tend to watch a lot of horror during the build-up. And by the build-up, I mean the 12 months preceding, because that's nothing out of the ordinary. And then on the day, I don't know really. It really depends. I don't have like any particular traditions. I like a get-together if it's going. I like a dress-up if it's going, but I don't mind too much. I'm also quite happy to just have a quiet one in, carve some pumpkins, and put on a classic.
Oh, I mean, now at my age, that sounds just perfect, doesn't it? Just
this is
nice
where I lean
cup
to
of something
now.
hot. Yeah.
I was just going to say, because my birthday's on the 28th, it's always kind of Halloween weekend. So I end up tending to do something then and not being so much for a party on Halloween. I'd rather just combine the two into
fair
build up.
The past few years have been a bit of a dud. Well, I suppose that's mainly because of the pandemic. There's not been much of a Halloween going on, but at work we have a competition, and if I enter it, I have to plan properly because I enter to win because of my my competitive nature, and I have won several times. But if I don't feel prepared, I literally do nothing, and because I'm not going to put in some fangs and a bit of fake blood because that doesn't cut it. No, I either all or nothing.
Yeah.
And so several times I've sort of sulked around just wearing a tracksuit because I haven't put enough effort into it. But this year, I need to start now because it takes a lot. But yeah, no, I haven't planned anything yet. But we'll see. I'm sure I'll do something. But Grimmfest, so this is our first time covering, and I have to say, from what I've seen so far, this festival is very selective about what they screen, because the quality of the standard, compared to other festivals, not naming any names, is very high, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Quantity over quality, absolutely so far.
No, quality over quantity.
What did I say? The other way around?
You said quantity over quality. Yes.
Did I? No, that's not right, is it?
No.
Yeah. No. Yeah, the other one. Yeah, it's tight. Tight stuff. We're going to get into it, but yeah, it's been very, very pleasantly surprising.
Yes. Well, I don't know about pleasant, but pleasantly surprising, yes. Do you have any movies that you're super excited to see that you haven't yet? For me personally, I'm really excited about Lee Tongham's Thai creature feature, The Lake. As soon as I saw the trailer a few months ago, I've been freaking out. And, they didn't even have a British trailer yet. It was all in Thai. But it looks incredible. It's got vibes of The Host. And also, I loved Lee Tongham's The Maid that I saw last year, which was one of my favourites. Any that are sticking out to you so far?
Do you know, I've actually tried to avoid reading too much about anything coming up. So I know
Very
titles
good.
and some are familiar. For example, we're going to talk about Candyland today. I'd heard a fair bit about that because it's already screened in other areas.
Yeah.
So there were a few that were kind of on my radar, but there's also a lot that I've not heard anything about, and I'm kind of going into them without even touching the synopsis, which
That's
is
great.
really exciting. Yeah. You just don't know what you're going to get. Yeah.
Yes, totally. So we're going to be covering the first 2 days today, and some of them we've seen before, so we'll just give our very small sort of reminder thoughts of those, and then people can go and find the longer reviews if they want. But all in all, we'll have a little talk about The Loneliest Boy in the World, The Passenger, Piggy, Megalomaniac, Pussycake, House of Darkness, Candyland, and holy shit! So as a reminder to everyone, these will be spoiler-free mini reviews, so you don't need to turn off. Keep listening. So Matt, why don't you kick us off with The Loneliest Boy in the World?
Super, thanks, Stevie. So, Loneliest Boy in the World, our opening Thursday night film, directed by Martin Owen, is about young boy Oliver, young boy teenager, I think, isn't he? After losing his mother in a bizarre accident worthy of a Darwin Award, our loner hero Oliver has to fend for himself and prove to social services that he has a support network to look out for him, or risk being put into foster care or welfare into the system. At the suggestion that in the absence of a real family, he creates his own, Oliver takes this quite literally, trots on down to the local cemetery and exhumes some fresh graves for his company. Fun and chaos ensues.
Yes, very good.
This...
Go on.
no, you go. You tell me your thoughts.
Okay,
I'm
so
interested.
I thought it was very sweet. I think it will probably appeal to a younger demographic than my own, but I had a nice time watching it. It was a nice ease into the festival. I particularly loved the production design and the set dressing. It was very Wes Anderson with a splash of Tim Burton. I think Max Harwood, who plays Oliver the lead, he was really lovely to watch. I saw him in the Everyone's Talking About Jamie movie. And there's a lot of sort of homemade... Yeah, he's Jamie. There's a lot of homemade sort of looking effects that pleased me. I think for me it felt a little bit monotonous in the second act and it dragged a little bit. But on the whole... it was cute, I would say. I think it's a cute film. And some of the sentimentality was a little bit broad, but it didn't bother me too much. It felt like if Wes Anderson updated version of Della Morte, Della More, The Cemetery Man. A little bit like that.
I love that film so much. Yeah.
Very. What about you?
Yeah, I agree really with everything you're saying there. It's good, wholesome family fun, isn't it? It feels like.
Yeah.
It kind of leans into some gross out humour at points. It has some good stuff. There's a particular kind of cheese indigestion dinner table scene, which I really enjoyed. I would have liked it maybe to lean into that a little bit more, into some of those horror elements, but it is going to be broad appeal. This will be great as a kind of entry-level gateway horror. I love that, like you say, the production design. This film feels like bubblegum and candy canes. It has some kind of wacky humour, which is really entertaining. Great soundtrack, absolutely top notch, pretty much lifted from Pretty Woman and loads of that kind of ilk of 80s films. I think we've got a lot of Go West in there.
Yes.
But I was living for it, and some of the needle drops are really great.
And a zombie sausage dog.
Oh, he was so adorable, wasn't he? I want one. Yes.
Well, it was very horrible for me because I have a sausage dog, so seeing like the bones and the flesh of a sausage dog made me quite sad. Even though I think the screener we had as well, they haven't. It's not even finished. You know, there was a lot of the effect that hadn't been completed yet. But yeah, it's cute. It's really fun. It's kind of, remember that awful film we saw, Super Z? It's kind of what that wanted to be. This got it right. It's that zany sort of slightly heightened humour, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. I liked it a lot. I thought some of the inclusion messages in there were really cool. I thought it was going to lean into maybe more of a queer agenda with the lead character, which it didn't quite go to. Maybe that's my personal agenda though, so I would like to see that in everything. Someone just has to have a mustache and I'll call them queer in a film. So all in all, nice opener.
Yes, lovely. Right then, so what is next? The Passenger, which is a Spanish film directed by Fernando González Gomez and Raúl Cerezo.
Cerezo?
Yes.
Cerezo?
Cerezo? I can't. I'm terrible. So this centres around a mother and daughter who are sharing a cheap hired minivan with one other passenger, and it's driven by a loudmouth chauvinist type person. When they stumble upon a strange gooey creature in the middle of the road, a kind of infection spreads throughout the passengers, resulting in a terrifying monster mash chase, I guess. Thoughts?
Really enjoyed this. La Pasajera.
Very good.
We have got a great kind of road trip movie here with 4 dysfunctional characters. They've all got their own kind of personal tensions and grievances with each other. So we've got mother, daughter, there's a lady travelling on her own, and, as you say, this kind of controversial, politically incorrect driver who kind of shit stirs the way through this trip that they have. And I thought this had a really great screenplay, some really great dialogue, really cool, funny humour. I enjoyed it. It's quite dark, and even that lead character, the driver Blasco, is kind of really lovable in his way of being an absolute arsehole. Yeah, and they kind of touch on that relationship with him and the young girl, which starts off thinking, it might go into some quite sordid places. It ends up being really quite touching and good fun. I loved the ambition of some of the creature design and where that was going. As with the previous film, I'm not sure, maybe this one is going to have some further touch-ups. I'm not 100% sure, but I did feel that perhaps the budget, or the effects budget specifically, held it back from being something greater than it could have been, realising its full potential.
Yeah.
Because some of it wasn't quite as
a little
original,
rough around the edges, some of
it. Yeah, some of it felt like things that we maybe have seen before and, done better. But on the whole, it's a good romp. Yeah, I enjoyed this. Really fun. Yeah. And it has a really funny use of the Paso Doble as like a soundtrack throughout, like this really traditional Spanish music, just put to great effect, and not what you often find in these kind of films. So very entertaining. What did you think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was so much fun. I love the friction, the setup of having the clashing characters, as you say, like a feminist, a potential chauvinist, a Gen Zer, and a strict mother. It played out really well. And then when the sort of crazy shit begins, it's kind of a non-stop messy action flick. There's a moment where someone has to rip off someone else's face to throw it to get someone else's attention, and that is certainly something I've never seen before. That's not spoiling anything. It was just a very interesting and funny moment, and disgusting as well. It feels at times a little bit like a Spanish update of Extro. There's just certain moments that reminded me of that, and there's definitely a lot of Evil Dead influence in there. I think we're seeing that a lot, aren't we? Because I suppose our generation are the ones now making movies, and we're seeing a lot of sort of Raimi influence and people around that time. And I'm here for it. But yeah, it's fun. As you said, it definitely, the only bits that it suffer are some of the effects, and they do feel very slapdash and homemade. But actually the very opening stinger, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to like this. It looks cheap, which is a terrible thing to say. Yeah. But it really surprised me, and as you say, that the sort of the person that you think you're going to come away hating the most is the one you kind of go, I prejudged him. Yeah, he's got some old, very out of date ideals, but he's a stand-up guy. Really, really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people will enjoy this one.
Absolutely.
Then after that, we had Piggy, which we've already seen and we've already reviewed. That is on Patreon on our one of our Future Frights episodes. But we loved this, didn't we? Didn't this end up in both of our top 3s?
I think it did. Everyone must see Piggy. It's a cracker. And for Grimmfest to put this out on day one, this is Friday, isn't it? This is the first film of Friday. So I think, fantastic. And also quite a bold move to say we're going to show a film like Piggy of this quality quite early. They're going to have to try and top that. So...
Yeah, right. It makes me very excited for them to go, right, this is, early on day 2, whatever. And Piggy's basically about a larger built girl who is horrendously bullied, and she oversees her bullies being kidnapped, and then the rest of the story is about what she does with that information. And it's fantastic. very, very original, and yeah, we both loved that. But if you want to hear more about that, go and check out our Future Frights episode on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Now then, Matt.
Are you letting me describe this one?
Here we go. So next up, we have Megalomaniac, French film. Yeah, do you wanna tell us about this one?
Yeah. Well, so earlier when I said I'm going into these films with no preparation,
yes,
that has often been great and reaped many, many benefits. This one I could have really done with some preparation, which I think for most audience is not going to be an issue because it is coming with heavy trigger warnings. Mm-hmm. So, Karim Oulahage?
I bought it.
Oulage. This is a French film.
Yes.
This is a
Very
French film.
French film.
So Martha and Felix are the grown children of a notorious Belgian serial killer known as the Butcher of Mons, who was infamously never caught for his crimes, which involved murdering 5 women, leaving only their dismembered body parts to be found in bin bags scattered over the country. The siblings now live as societal outcasts in a ramshackle old house resembling Tyler Durden's home in Fight Club, just completely falling apart. And Martha holds down a cleaning job, while Felix continues in his father's footsteps, slaughtering women in his spare time. Mm-hmm. Following an incident at work, we follow Martha as she begins to come undone at the seams and come to terms with her family legacy.
Yes.
Stevie,
yes.
How did this make you feel?
Oh, God. Don't ask me that question. How did it make you feel? My God, this will...
Do you want to lie down on my couch as we talk about this?
This will be divisive, yeah. And it already is for those who have seen it, from what I'm aware. I'd call it... a love letter to the new French extremity, but then actually love letter seems like a strange phrase because there's zero love in Megalomaniac. It's incredibly bleak, it's incredibly provocative and incredibly upsetting. Trigger warnings for everything you'd expect in French extremity movie. It made me sad a lot. However, it's also completely stunning. The visuals are out of this world. The moments of surrealism are some of the images that I will never forget. The violence and pain is visceral and brutal, and it's weird because I did find it sort of artistic in its brutality, and I guess that's what French extremity is all about. It's not just an edgelord trying to get you to turn off or perform an endurance test. It's about seeing the beauty in the darkness sometimes, and this film at times feels like a glimpse into hell in the way that like that Turkish film Baskin is, and it poses the question of, is evil hereditary? It's going to take me a long time to not think about this film. It's not an easy watch. It's not a film I'll ever watch again, but it's kind of masterful and beautiful at the same time. What do you think?
I agree with everything you say, Stevie. Yeah, the first half an hour of this film, there were points where I just thought, I honestly don't think I can sit through this. I wanted to turn it off. I wanted to turn it off, banish it from my mind, and go and have a cold shower. And there was something that switched maybe about 30 minutes in where I kind of... I can't say I found a place to connect with the film or the material because it's completely unrelatable in most ways. Yes. But I found some empathy for Martha, one of our leads. And that is what kind of took me through the next hour of the film, despite not wanting to be there whatsoever. It's bold, it's unflinching, it's gritty and realistic, and everything looks filthy and bloody and unhygienic.
Yes.
It has some, like you say, all of the triggers for serious, nasty, horrible stuff going on here. And I kind of just thought throughout, am I getting old? Because this is the kind of thing that I used to once upon a time seek out to push the boundaries of what I could watch. And now I just didn't want to be there. But I can't deny the masterful performances at hand here, the cinematography, everything about this film is really incredibly well made. And you said about some of those visuals, they are nightmarish, they are surreal and absolutely haunting. There's one, you sent me a screenshot of one particular image, which is one of there's maybe 2 or 3 that are firmly now embedded in my brain. All of this is backed up and wrapped up with this kind of industrial Nine Inch Nails-esque score with Gregorian chanting, so we have this kind of like cult-esque vibe to it. It's just masterful. I simply cannot in any good conscience recommend this film to anyone.
No.
And I never want to see it again myself. But I mean, hats off for what it set out to achieve. Everyone involved has completed the assignment there, and
I agree.
Wow, powerful, really powerful.
And I think there'll be a lot of comparisons to Martyrs, because even the very opening scene is exactly that. It's almost an homage to it, of a wounded woman or a wounded female sort of running scared. It's I'm glad I've seen it, and as you said, I don't know if I can recommend it to anyone because there's nothing. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. There is one image that I just thought was incredible when it's a sex scene, but then it turns into a surrealist sex scene, and there's just like waves of blood and a devilish being, and
the floor is kind of transforming with it's magnificent.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's what a film. I wish I'd seen it in a room with people, actually. I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
I didn't know what to do with myself after this one. I didn't have anyone to turn to because you hadn't seen it quite yet at that point, so I didn't.
I'm sorry.
I think your comparison to Martyrs is really, really on the point and on the money. Sorry, but the difference with Martyrs is that there is kind of like this really beautiful relationship at the heart of Martyrs to latch onto between the 2 female protagonists, and this, I don't know if that's quite there, so it makes it a little bit harder to swallow. Speaking of comparisons,
yes, go on.
No, because my comments really throw
I was going to say, as you were saying, you have to try and force yourself to try and find empathy with Martha in it, or Martha. Because awful things are happening to her, but then she's also doing awful things that are unforgivable, and it puts your brain in a very tricky sort of moral vice. It's really fucked me up, this film.
And there's even one character in it who you think we're going to really side with. There's someone who shows like a modicum of kind of decency. And then there's a really sad moment where he just turns a blind eye to an awful acts happening around him and does nothing when he could intervene, and you just suddenly think, right, well, you're a fucker too then. I've got no one on my side here.
And to the point where I was grasping so much that when some men who've done something awful get their comeuppance, which is an absolutely detestable thing that happens to them, I was part of me was a bit like, no, I can't feel like that's terrible. Oh dear. Yes.
You have to take what we can get in this film. My throwaway comment I was just about to make for the good first, maybe part of what hindered my enjoyment throughout the first half an hour was I could not stop thinking that the 2 leads really looked like Elizabeth Moss and a young Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Did you make
no, I'd take that. So that was Megalomaniac. Then next up was Pussycake, which we've already covered again in a Future Frights episode, and we enjoyed this, didn't we?
Yeah, Pussycake is good fun. Good fun times. Gross, squishy, gooey, slimy. Yeah.
It's very bizarre. It's like it's about a girl band called Pussycake, I believe, if I remember correctly, who just get involved in this sort of apocalyptic, sort of Evil Dead mutant battle type thing, and it's just a mess. It's just goo everywhere. It's great fun. So next up is House of Darkness by Neil LaBute. So this is about a guy played by Justin Long who meets a girl at a bar played by Kate Bosworth and works his magic to get invited back to her home. And once they get there, to her incredibly luxurious castle where she lives, their dynamic is tested because as she starts starts to question him about his morals, and her flirtation slowly becomes more and more sinister, and eventually all comes to a head. Matt, what did you think of House of Darkness?
Yeah, that castle is a big point, isn't it, here? Because this is a gothic castle that could have been lifted directly from the pages of a Bram Stoker novel.
There we go.
And that won't be the last Stoker reference you get in this film. So this is kind of almost kind of a chamber piece, almost a two-hander, but not quite. And we have lots of really long scenes of dialogue and conversation, which are interesting, but somewhat one note for me. It doesn't really build on its premise, and I feel like the material is stretched. The material is very slight for a feature-length film. You know, this could have been probably a pretty decent 45-minute Creepshow episode or something like that.
Yes.
But at an hour and a half, it just feels extremely drawn out, and it's very clear from the offset that this is heading towards a unpleasant end for one of our characters, and it's also hitting us with this message of, this is one of these men are shit movies, right? Men are shit, women are great. Yeah, absolutely agree. Most of the time that is true. So it's very good, but it doesn't really do much to subvert that. It just kind of builds on it. And while I think the performances were good, they were interesting, the set design and the atmosphere are good, it just didn't give me as much as I really needed from a film like this.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think the performances are great, and I don't mind a slow burn, but the problem is it's predictable slow burn. The great thing about slow burn is when you don't know what's coming, and it's like, where is this headed? Whereas they don't try and hide where this is headed. You kind of know it's set up as this slight sort of promising young woman type vibe. You know, that feels like this guy is going to be punished by this woman because of something he did, or he's being set up to show him the error of his ways. And it's all signposted, but it's so drawn out that it then made me go, I wonder if I'm wrong. Is that the point, that it's going to go somewhere else? But then the final climax was exactly what I was expecting, and therefore it didn't have any impact. And so I was kind of going, well, yeah, all the red flags were there, and it kind of pointed to a direction that I thought it was going, and it went to the direction I thought it was going, and therefore... What's the point in that? I don't. That's not how tension works, is it? Is going, by the way, this is gonna come to a head. Let's spend an hour and a half getting there, and then it's exactly that. So that was a shame. There was some great moments, but as you said, it's not worth a 90-minute. And some of the dialogue, which is very naturalistic, and sometimes it felt improvised almost, especially by Justin Long. It just felt, I think you kind of said that, very repetitive, that it's, asking him a question and then going, but do you really mean that? And then unraveling the answer to that question, then the next one's the same. What's underneath that? Is that a fib? And it just went on and on and on. And then, kind of anticlimactic, I guess. It's not dreadful.
Very much so, yeah.
But
agree. Yeah, it's fine, but nothing too thrilling. I mean, there's even a couple of points where I think around the halfway mark, it really changes up where we're at. There's a kind of shift in location, and suddenly you think, oh, great, we're going to get some action, and then lo and behold, it's one of your worst nightmares in the world. It is a dream sequence. So you kind of think, oh, right, okay, I thought this was going to go somewhere now.
Yeah, that moment was great, because I think the very opening kind of started in that certain place, and then, it's annoyingly a dream sequence, because the location of that is wonderful. But, it's a shame. It's not, I'm not going to say it's a missed opportunity, because it's fine. And I think people will like it.
And people might come to see this for the stars. It's got a couple of big names attached to it.
Yeah.
It's from the director of The Wicker Man 2006, if that's a draw. So,
some people, I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, absolutely. This will find an audience somewhere.
And then last up, well, not last up because we might as well say Holy Shit, which closed out Friday, I think, which is a lot of fun. I thought that one was a little bit long, and it's a great premise. It's a German film of a guy who wakes up in a portaloo and he's impaled and stuck, and he's an architect, and he can hear that the site he's on is about to be blown up, or I was about to say executed, and that's not the word I mean. What do I call demolished? Yes, that's it. And it's about the resources he has in this portaloo and how he can try and get out against a ticking clock, literally a ticking bomb. Yeah, and it's fine. It's good fun. It's silly. We enjoyed it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, I can imagine this is quite a nice light way to end things for the day.
Yeah.
Late night film, it's gonna get some good laughs out of an audience.
Yeah, if you want to hear more on that, go check out our other Future Frights episodes. But before that, the screening of Candyland. Talk to me, Matt.
Candyland. I was going to try and say it 5 times really fast then.
Candyland.
Is it like that?
I get that reference.
It was a deep cut. Okay, so after finding herself excised from her devoutly Christian cult family, Remy, our protagonist, is taken under the wing by a group of truck stop sex workers who offer to show her the ropes and help her on her feet to independence, against her faith and better judgment. Remy must navigate this inner conflict as she also navigates, my notes are terrible here, also navigates the slew of bodies which start mounting up around her. Very tired when I wrote that. Yeah, so we have North American truck stop, lots of sex workers,
yes,
Christians, collisions,
and murder,
yes.
I loved this so hard. It is brilliant. One, it's really good to see sex workers portrayed in this light. Their bond is infectious and really attractive, and I've never seen it portrayed like this, and it shows it in such a good light. It comes out of nowhere as well. It's nothing like what I expected. The performances are all incredible. There's great queer representation. The bloodshed is the body count in this is probably the most of anything we've had so far. It's just fucking brilliant, and it's just a brilliant film. And I think there will be a lot of comparisons to Ty West's X because it's a kind of a sexualized slasher, I suppose. But for me, the quality of this was so much higher than X. I loved this film. What about you?
Wow. Oh, wow. Tall praise. I loved it too. This is such a cool film. And I just mean, it looks so stylish. Everything, like you say, is really sharp. The performances are great. It feels, now it's, I can't lie and say that I know the sex working industry well. I've not worked in it, but it feels honest. This feels like a very honest portrayal because there's no judgment, and it shows a very balanced view of the risks that are attached with that, and equally some of the benefits. And the benefits being that we have this beautiful chosen family of friends, this great network who look after one another, they look after themselves, and they are there to better themselves. They're there for a means to an end, and they're all playing their role. And it's just a really great setup. When shit gets kicking off, it's almost like the slasher horror elements of it are really not even that important to me. I would have just quite happily watched a drama set at this truck stop with these people, the lot lizards they call themselves.
Yes, the lot lizards.
I really like that.
I think you saying that chosen family, I think that's the main thing. That's the theme of it, and it just happens to be a fun genre film in there as well because there's stupid bloodshed, and even the weapon that is used to kill all these people is a comment, and it's funny and amusing, but it's just so original, and it feels important. And as you say, I love that vibe of it feels like honest representation, showing the dangers, but also how they have got each other's back, and they are a really enviable group of friends.
Yeah.
It's great, and the thing is, we can't really talk too much about the deaths and what's going on because it gives too much away. But also, then you've got the cult element as well, with this very sort of Jim Jones. I think they're sort of like a mass suicide type of cult that are sort of, they're one of those that are all going to ascend and cleanse themselves and all that. I mean, I was going to ask you what your favourite of the first 2 days was, and I'm assuming it's Candyland.
It's actually House of Darkness.
Shut up.
It has to be Candyland. I think Candyland just works on so many levels. You can take it as a really just fun, entertaining watch, or you can really read into it as well, you know. And there's a lot of comparison being drawn between the chosen families that we have of the workers and plus the cult, because they're not her biological family. She's chosen to be a part of that family, but yet, whereas, you know, which is more damaging to a person's mental well-being, you know. It's very clearly making a statement there, isn't it?
Trigger warnings as well on that one, though. I mean, there's some graphic, horrible moments that were really upsetting also.
Yeah, which you can't really say too much without spoiling, I suppose. But I just needed to say on that also, we have got the creepiest priest I have seen on film since probably Poltergeist 2.
Poltergeist 2, Reverend Kane.
So scary.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I had goosebumps. He was so terrifying.
So
and there's just a moment when he removes something that just made me
That's a really
crawl.
open image there.
Yes, isn't it?
Take your pick what he removes.
It's fantastic. Wow, what a start. Go on.
You were trying to move it on there, and I just brought us right back to Candyland. I wasn't done with it, but
please talk to me.
No. Now we're done with it, and we're moving on. Yes, my favourite is Candyland by a country mile. Day one.
Yeah, same.
That's the winner.
And that's just in the first 6 or 7 films or whatever it is. I'm very excited to continue, and the next episode will be dropping tomorrow on Patreon, where we will be covering the Saturday movies, and I'm excited. Hell yeah. And just for those who aren't familiar with you, just let them know where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Draper's Discs.
Yes,
where
you show your wonderful collection.
Wildly inactive at the moment. But as it is now October, there's some stuff you can see my legacy. But I'll be putting up some more throughout October, because there's a lot to celebrate, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. Can't wait. All right, mate. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, can't wait, mate. See you then.